Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to May's council election. Um, council election, council meeting, jumping the gun a bit. Um, for those that are attending today and those that haven't been to a council meeting before, attendees are reminded that council meetings are a place of work for staff and councillors. Council is committed to meeting its responsibility as an employer and as a host of this public forum by ensuring that all present meet expectations of mutually respectful and orderly conduct. It is a condition of entry to this meeting that you cooperate with any directions or requests from the chairman or the council officers. The chairman is responsible for maintaining order at the council meeting. The chief executive officer is responsible for the health, well-being and safety of all present. The chairman or chief executive officer may require a person to leave council premises following any behaviour that falls short of these expectations, and it is an offence to hinder or disrupt a council meeting. And those of you that are here today, I hope you've all registered at the front desk. So the first item on today's agenda is the presence at council, and everyone is present except Councillor Josh Mantikas, who is on leave of absence. Item number 2 is confirmation of minutes, and the recommendation is that the minutes of Council's ordinary meeting held on the 21st of April 2026, numbered 2659 to 2677, as provided to councillors, be received and confirmed as a true record of proceedings. And may I please have a mover for that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Allen. A seconder? Councillor Lana. Thank you. Councillor Allen, any comments? Councillor Lana, any comments from the other councillors? There being none, then I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Item number 3 is late items, and there are no registered late items for today's meeting. Item number 4 is declarations of interest in a matter of a councillor. Are there any pecuniary or conflicts of interest at today's meeting?
Madam Mayor, yes, I'm just be stepping out with 8.4 CEO number 4, just due to being a public service employee. I'll be leaving the room.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ferguson. So item number 5 is public question time, and there are, for those that have also just joined, there are general rules for public question time and questions without notice. 30 minutes maximum for public question time and public questions. Any one speaker is allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to make one statement and or up to 3 questions. For clarity, a member of the public has a maximum of 5 minutes total, irrespective of making a statement, asking questions, or a combination thereof. A question will be answered if the information is known, otherwise it will be taken on notice and responded to in writing in the statutory time period. If a member of the public hinders or disrupts a meeting, or tries to hinder or disrupt a meeting, or refuses to leave a closed meeting, or uses obscene or offensive language, the chairman may take reasonable steps to remove the person from the ordinary or closed meeting, including requesting the assistance of a police officer if required. So now we come to item 5.1, which is public input time, and those that have asked to speak have registered, and the first person is Kate McIver.
My name is Kate McIver. My address is 398 Gravelly Beach Road at Gravelly Beach. Fire hydrants, marking of fire hydrants. I posed a question to this council in person on the 21st of January 2025. I was answered via an email in the requisite timing on the 31st of January 2025 that council stated recognises the importance of these markers and has refined its process to ensure that the appropriate reinstatement has been completed. However, Loop Road hydrants are still not marked after roadworks 2 to 3 years ago. I spoke to Liam Cox. He is the Glengarry Fire Brigade Chief. He apparently sent a report through to Taswater and West Tamar Council on the 15th of May 2025. It was promised to be done on the 19th of May. It was not. Liam Cox rang Taswater and West Tamar Council 5 to 6 months ago. From what I can gather, with Liam telling me, Long Plains Road has just been resealed, but no fire hydrant markers. Liam rang Robert Henderson, who is a volunteer in the Gravelly Beach Fire Brigade. He rang him regarding this in mid-March this year. So with that, they've still not been done. I noticed that Gravelly Beach Shop fire hydrant is also not marked after the roadworks. Now, the 10th of March 2026, this was promised to be done by Taswater. Whose responsibility is the line marking of fire hydrants? From what I can gather now, it is West Tamar Council, as Taswater has relinquished that responsibility. If West Tamar Council have it written in each work contract, why is each job then signed off as completed without the fire hydrant yellow markers with the blue cat's eyes close by, placed and actioned? I counted 1 fire hydrant visible to my eye driving from my place at 398 Gravelly Beach Road to Exeter. 1. The blue cat's eyes are either smashed off or gone completely. I see half of markers. This is a safety hazard, a real safety hazard. And Liam has been, his email is reading like a transaction list, back and forth to Taswater to try to get something done. And all the time, apparently, since I was notified in an email, which I have, that it was not completed and never has been completed. So, yeah, I'd like to know whose responsibility it is and why it hasn't been done. And if it has, if why are jobs signed off when the fire hydrant markers are not painted on again?
Kate, thank you very much for those very important questions. This is the first time the council's heard of it. It's not good enough. It is it's an operational matter, so I'll ask our CEO, Kristen Desmond, to address your concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Katie, there's a lot of questions in there. So some of them I may take on notice in relation to Loop Road and Long Plains Road. I'll give you a general answer, but we'll come back if that's okay. In general, you did raise this question in 25, and so we've had a look at our contracts because prior to this financial year, Taswater were doing the hydrant marking. So it wasn't part of our contracts for us to do the hydrant marking. We would tell them where the reseals were occurring and they would go back and do that. We've now in the 25-26 resealing process where it's been a reseal, we have got hydrant marking as part of our contract requirements.
Yes.
So that happens this financial year and that's only for resealing. So where, for example, Long Plains Road, if that happened 2 to 3 years ago, that would have been Taswater's responsibility. It's not so much that they've relinquished it, but we've taken responsibility for it in this financial year. So in terms of those roads, I'll go back and answer those questions specifically. But the impact of your question in January 25 was for us to change how we actually contract those resales so that in 2025-26 our contractors are responsible for the hydrating. Before then, It is Taswater, and we are actively working with them to try and get this sorted. I have been told that there is a Taswater project, I think, around auditing all of the markings across the state. So any of these we'll make sure are included through that process so that it can be closed off. So I guess that in part, some of it is council because we've taken it on. Some of it is Taswater and should have been done. So we will chase them up in that instance as well.
Excellent. I know that Liam Cox has been emailing flat out with Taswater, but this should not be a negotiation.
Agreed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. The next person wishing to speak is Ms. Josephine Ford. Josephine Ford?
So, couldn't hear.
That's all right. I'm sorry.
Which do I press the button?
All good.
It's on.
It's still on, is it?
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you.
Well, as I said, my name is Josephine Ford, and I live in the Ghana. What I want to ask the council is, why have I been charged for a waste disposal bin that I have not had for years, and which I actually returned to council some years ago when they dropped it off again? I actually took it down to council chambers and I actually put a note on the bin informing council that I did not want this bin anymore. And as I have never used it, I don't have waste, food waste. I have a compost, which I am a vegetarian, and whatever waste, food waste I might have at different times, very rarely, I give it to my friend who has chooks. But council, for some reason or another, have continued, even though they know that I do not have the bin, they have continued to charge me, a pensioner, I will stress, for a bin that I do not have, do not require. And I think, Madam Mayor, I think when I brought it up quite some time ago, you told me that it was council's policy for me to have a bin. Now, what has happened to my right as a person to have choice? What has happened to freedom of choice? I chose not to have the bin because I have no use for it. So, as I said, why have I been forced, and I say forced, to pay for a bin that I haven't had for years?
Thank you for your question. There are quite a lot of issues in that question, so we will take it on notice.
Yes, well, please do take notice.
And I assure you it will be dealt with appropriately. Thank you.
Beg your pardon?
It will be dealt with appropriately.
We'll make sure it is dealt with and make sure it is dealt in my favour. Otherwise, I'm going to take it further and stir the pot.
Thank you. The next speaker is Vince Zupan.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councillors, staff, gallery. I don't do this very often, but I just want to speak in regard to the proposed childcare centre for Tufay Court in Lagana. Now, where do I start? I looked at the planning application that I got off the West Council website, and throughout the report, there were many inconsistencies. On the front page, the development said that it had 10 parking spaces plus a disability spot. Then In another diagram in a report, it showed 12 parking spots. And then that was in the Pitt and Sherry report. The Prime Design report showed 6. But with the Pitt and Sherry report, it showed in the beginning of the report that there were 5 spots and 1 disability spot and no staff parking. But a few pages later, it had 1 parking spot for 6 staff, 6 parking spots, plus 1 parking spot for every 6 attendees. So they're expecting 36. So that's 6. So that showed 12. So we had 11, 6, and 12 in the same report. I don't know if I'm missing something there. When I grew up in Trevellyn, I went to school in Riverside High School. I lived in West Riverside. I've been living in Penguin for 11 years. And as we speak, I'm building a house at 16 Brigalow Street. That'll be our new home. I was looking for a nice, quiet residential area. Everything was going fine. And then I see the development for the childcare centre at 2 Fay Court. Now, looking at the report, I did measurements on it, and the wall is about 5 metres back from the footpath, and from the bottom of that to the top of the building is 6.3 metres. I just think the size of this building is it's almost like a penitentiary. Sorry, I'm nervous. I don't do this very often. But for a block that's 1,024 square metres, to put on the childcare centre, and you've got to have so much playground as well per number of kids. The actual parking spot is only 6, 5 plus a disability spot. Yes, kids are going to be dropped off and picked up during the day at different times, but there's only enough room for 1 car to come in at each time. So if the staff, they're going to have to park somewhere, and people usually park as close as they can to work. Brigalow Street and Fay Court are going to become really unsafe, because if 2 cars park on either side, it becomes a 1-lane road. So if people are pulling off into Brigalow to go into Fay Court to turn in, they won't even know if there's any free spots in there, because you can't see it from the road. So if somebody's coming out and they're coming in, well, what's going to happen? Somebody's either going to have to reverse back into the last free spot, or the other car on the road will have to reverse back. I just think that's very unsafe. Today, also in the report, they show that they're having up to 36 children from pretty much ages 0 up to 5, and they said that they're going to have a staff 5. They're going to have 5 carers for up to 36 children. Now, I looked at the legislation in Tasmania, and on the figure shown there, you're probably looking at 8 staff, because people will go to lunch, people will go to the toilet or whatever. And also there's got to be people at the drop-off point for the parents to drop their kids off. So they're having 5 staff for 36 is just not going to work. They do mention that the actual counter staff person can be used to fill in, but that's going to take it to 6, but there's still meant to be 8. Just before I got here, I went to Good Start Early Learning Centre up in Techno Park. Now, my children went there years ago. Now, when I went there today, just an hour before I got here, they've got 120 kids there, but when they've got 120 kids, they've got 40 staff. Now, so if you want to...
Mr. Zupan, you've got 25 seconds left.
All right, so yes, the 5 staff is just unrealistic. This place has been running for 20 years. My kids went there, so that was all good. Lastly, it's just the size. You've got a 2 metre retaining wall, 1.8 metre fence, another 1.4 building, plus the roof, plus air conditioning, 6.7 metres. It's just in the wrong spot. Great business, wrong spot.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. And this matter will be assessed by our planners, and it will come to the June council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker is G. Hay.
It's nice to be welcomed back by the councillors. My first question is, excuse my voice. I like to quote Oscar Wilde. Once maybe a misfortune, but twice begins to look like carelessness. Has been allowed to comment about the negative performance of West Hamar Council and their staff. Maybe I'll leave it up to the council and the staff to comment on in the space of 2 days. 2 West Hamar Council vehicles were filled up with the wrong type of fuel. Wonder who pays for that.
Is that your question, Mr.?
Yes, it is, Madam Mayor.
I'll take it on notice.
So you don't know who pays to fix up.
I'm taking your question on notice, Mr. Hay.
Okay. My second question you might find rather strange. It's actually a comment, a compliment to Miss Allen and the Mayor, who showed some empathy to a member of the public. And it was by the good fortune of the Mayor and Guy Allen, who somehow managed to find accommodation for her. In fact, I'm informed that they went well beyond that in making an offer, which she was very grateful for. Would the two councils explain to us, low life and the general public and ratepayers, how you managed to organise, in a very short time, appropriate accommodation for this lovely lady?
I will take that question on notice as well, Mr. Hay.
Okay. As you know, I'm regularly banned from attending the council on claims that my questions are a psychosocial hazard to the councillors and the staff. Regardless of these questions that I ask, they're part of a democracy and free speech in communications. The continued use of the WorkSafe Act by the General Manager to gag and ban attention at public meetings, that in the opinion of a very large number of people who have viewed the video recordings of the questions and rate them as fair and equitable and reasonable questions under the circumstances. Does the General Manager understand the claims of psychosocial damage? She is trivialising those claims and rejecting me from public meetings. In fact, she does so because of the tone and style of my questions. And using the act in such a trivial manner, does the General Manager hold the view that she actually is reducing the intent of the act to deal with serious matters of abuse and psychosocial hazards in the workplace?
Mr. Hay, you should be directing your questions to me.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, would you like to repeat it?
No, I did hear it.
Good.
And I will take that question on notice as well, and you will be responded to in the required time period.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. There being no other public questions, item. But they will have to register.
Yes.
Oh,
Frank.
well, the name of the person is.
Frank.
He's ticked no to speak, but You're most welcome to come to the microphone, Mr. Piscaneri, if you'd like to speak.
Look, I'm totally support Vince what he's done here, but there is one area that hasn't been highlighted, and that is I'm actually the next door neighbour to this new bit of infrastructure, and been in business most of my life, and I'm certainly not one to object to development or progress, but I think that the parties concerned all need to be satisfied with what the construction's going to consist of. And on that northeastern western elevation of this new structure is 3 metres from the boundary, and I've got a 2 metre block wall and then a 1.8 metre colorbond fence, which is 3.8 metres right on my boundary, and it sort of goes back with the elevation. But that blocks out 40% of my view, all the morning sun, and darkens the between the two buildings and my place. And I don't think and I would not have bought that block had I known that there was going to be a development of that size on my boundary all the way up to the full block. And looking at the people that were involved with PDA, I know that she had a lot to do with the development of this proposal that was put forward by Pitt and Sherry. That they were the company that done all the surveying prior to the subdivision. So they were fully aware of what was happening all the way through this process, obviously, because they're part of this proposal that's been put forward. So, and obviously, so was Tasland. And Tasland never identified to me when I purchased that block. I tried to get that corner block and they wouldn't give it to me, but they never said why. And now I'm going to have this structure 3.8 metres high on my boundary, which is only going to be 3 metres from my house to that wall, all the way up that side. And I'm very concerned about the winter months and the darkness and not having access by any light whatsoever except in the middle of the day. And I've been dealing with the people that are building it, and they never gave me any indication whatsoever what they were planning to do. So I think that I would like, or if the council would even have a look at it, if they can redesign the fence so that even if it's colour bond that blocks everything out, if this proposal goes ahead, then even if they change to like a wrought iron structured fence so they could still let a bit of light in and the sun in.
Well, what will happen, Mr. Piscaneri, is that the application has been made to council. It will be considered by the planning scheme. If there are any areas where that application doesn't comply, that will also be addressed by the planner, and it will come to council for final decision. Um, if the application complies with the planning scheme, there's not an awful lot we can do about it. But if it doesn't comply, there are conditions regarding overshadowing and blocking of light and the sorts of issues that you've raised. But I can't say any more other than to tell you that it will be assessed at the June council meeting on the third Tuesday of June.
Well, then obviously looking at that, there's not much more going to be done because otherwise Pitt and Cherry or the planners or the draftsmen or the architects would have known what the legislation would have been for that or the council regulation, and that's why they allowed for that to go up. But I can see personally it is a big negative for me, and I don't want to let it go up and then all of a sudden everybody can see what it's going to do, because there's no distance between my house and that. Look, 3 metres is nothing, and in part of it's less than 3 metres.
Well, as I said, it will have to comply with the scheme, and if it doesn't, it won't be approved. So I don't know that there's much more than I can say to you than we've heard your concerns about it, but because it is a planning matter that hasn't yet come to council, I can't tell you any more than I've told you today.
Well, thank you. Let's hope we can hear something in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Fiscaneri. Now there was a Michelle Brown that said no, and a Ruth Spencer that said no, and Sven Kling said no. Do you still not wish to speak?
I just want to ask
And your name is, sir?
Paul Whidden from Bigelow Street in Lagana.
Yes.
If we come next meeting to speak at the next meeting about this Fay Court development, does that mean it's already gone through, or do we need to speak now? No, okay, I'm getting a no from over there.
No, you have to.
We have so next
certainly raise
meeting is when we need to speak, not this meeting.
You certainly need to speak, but when the agenda comes out in June, there will be the recommendation of the planner to council for that development application. Now, I don't know what that recommendation is going to be because it hasn't been fully assessed yet. But you certainly may come in and speak to that particular agenda item next month or now. But once the recommendation is made, then it's up to council to determine whether they accept that recommendation. One of the things that we can't take into account is if the application is compliant with our planning scheme, unless something comes up that hasn't been considered, a council is required. It doesn't have to, but generally speaking, the recommendation of our councillors is after the project's been assessed and either recommended for approval or not. But you're most welcome to speak now.
Well, okay. On Pitt and Cherry's report, they state the visual concern turning into Fay Court, westward bound, does not comply to the Australian standard. They already state that now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one point. The other point is about this fence that's going up that's not there now, 4 metre high fence. If you're coming out of Fay Court, you can't see the cars coming on your left down the street. It's a T-junction, you have to give way. That's an issue. Noise issue, they've stated that the air conditioners, four of, mounted on the roof, 40% of the noise will be dropped by ground absorption, 60% will be dropped by the ground absorption, 40% of the remainder will be by the fence. I can't see how they got that issue when the air conditioners are mounted on the roof.
Well, again,
above the height of the thing and the fence. Now, if that's not taken into consideration by the council now, then they're going to approve it for next meeting.
well, no, I at this stage, we haven't had a recommendation from our planners, so it is being assessed at the moment, and we have to wait until that assessment has been completed before we are given a recommendation. But one thing I would suggest to you, if you do have those sorts of technical concerns that you'd like to bring to council, you can either put them in writing or you can come into the council chambers and request to speak with one of our planners to ask for an answer to the questions that you may have.
Okay, I've done both, but and I've got a letter back saying that they've received it. Does that then go to the Planning Commission prior to it being approved?
No, the planning application is made to council. It's assessed by our planners, and if it complies with the Tasmanian planning scheme, the recommendation would be to pass it. If it doesn't comply, we would be recommended not to pass it. Yes, and then, for example, if the council votes against the recommendation of a planner's recommendation to the council, the proponent of the application can go to the tribunal, and then from there it goes to the Tasmanian Planning Commission.
So, but all the information I have sent and others have sent, technical issues regarding this application, where does that get addressed?
Well, that gets, they are certainly, everything that you send into council is read, but at the end of the day, what the planner has to do is to assess that application against the Tasmanian planning scheme, not what somebody might say that can't be proven or is not accurate. There's a planning scheme that that person has to assess that application against.
So if we expect next meeting and we can prove our points, then that is not going to do anything.
Well, it depends if your points are accurate with the Tasmanian planning scheme. If they are in line with what the Tasmanian planning scheme says, but what you may think may not be what the Tasmanian planning scheme says. But I will ask our municipal planner, Michelle, to come up here and probably in more planner speak, tell you how it will go. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Just to reassure you that all the representations get considered by the planner when they do their assessment. So when the agenda comes out for the June meeting, you'll see there's a report in there and it will go through all of the matters that are raised in the representations and how that's addressed through the planning scheme and relevant to the assessment. So, and that might make, so for example, sometimes they make recommendations about conditions from a representation, or they'll say how it meets the planning scheme or not. So there'll be an assessment against all the matters that you've raised through representations.
That everybody else has raised as well.
Oh yeah, all of them that are received get reviewed, and the councillors get a full copy of all of the representations as well, so that when they're considering the application, they've got all that information available.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, just a point of order. I think there was a little bit of grey area there about representations. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but critical is the representation should be submitted before the report's sent. So coming next meeting to
absolutely.
talk.
Yes, there is a deadline.
Yep. So just need to confirm.
Yeah.
That's already gone.
It's already gone. It's already gone.
Yes. Yes. Yes, the gentleman down the back. Yes, Mr. Harrison, you can step up to the microphone. And you will only have the same period of time as the other speakers have had.
I'd just like to say that I'm very, very much against this development, and I think that the planners will get very, very serious consideration to setting a precedent here that would set a hell of a lot of my work over the last, I don't know, a lot of time. 1996, I started down there in Lagana and turned a dirty creek that ran all the way down from the commercial area, right down through the area that you see there now, donated all the public open space. And I'm very, very disappointed that it even got to this point. And there won't be any doubt at all that I'll be putting every effort I possibly can in to protect this sort of thing from happening. It'll set a precedent, as I said, for people to just put childcare centres wherever they want to in a residential area, which will be wrong, very wrong. I've got a list of reasons. I've put in a representation, and there's nothing more important to me as the main reason for objecting to this than the neighbour's loss of amenity and the adverse impact on the residential street character that I've built up over the last 20, 30 years down there. and I'll be strongly asking council to do everything that they possibly can to not set precedents like this. I understand your point there. I've been around a little while. I know exactly what you're talking about, but there's a lot you can do also. Been around long enough to know that.
Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Quick comment, it's not my role, but just for people to understand that it'll be on the recommendations in the agenda will be on council's website on the 11th of June. Then it comes to the council meeting on the 16th. So that'll give you time to have a look at what council's recommendations, staff recommendations are before that meeting in June. And you have access to that on the website.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Item 5.2 is public questions on notice, and the questions and the answers are found on page 76 and 77 of the this month's agenda. I beg your pardon, and page 78. So item 6 is the Chief Executive Officer's declaration. Item 7 is the Planning Authority, and there are no planning issues today. Item 8, Office of the Chief Executive Officer, and the purpose of this report is to provide a record of workshops held in accordance with the requirements of Regulation 10(3)(c) of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2025. And the recommendation is the Council receives the report on Council workshops held on the 21st of April and the 5th of May and the 12th of May 2026. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Lyons. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Allen. Councillor Lyons, any comments? Councillor Allen? Any comments from the councillors? Yes, Councillor
Oh, it's just noted as a 14th of May budget workshop. Was it the 12th or the 14th? Just on page 82.
We're just checking the calendar.
It should have been 12.
Yes, it was the 12th of May.
To be corrected, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. All those in favour? Against? Carried 8-0. 8.2 is CEO, the third quarter performance report, January to March 2026. And the purpose of this report is to provide the West Tamar Council third quarterly performance report for the period of 1 January to 31 March 2026 to Council for endorsement. And the recommendation is that Council receives the West Tamar Council third quarter performance report, January 2026 to 31 March 2026, and provide public access to the report as part of the Council's commitment to ongoing good governance. May I please have a mover for that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Lana. Seconder, please. Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Lana, do you have any comments to make?
Yes, I do. Just it's very important to have these documents available to the general public. It's our operations and our finances. We need to be accountable to our ratepayer base.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, I just agree with those comments. Just gives a good overview of performance. A couple of things just got my attention though. The dog bites. I'm just wondering whether they are actually same dog repeat offenders or whether they're actually separate dogs. But anyway, that can come offline. But the point is these reports do bring out notifiable incidents, safety incidents, and it was a bit concerning that we've had in that quarter 9 dog bites. And so I'd be interested to make sure that we're doing all we can to ensure that this doesn't happen.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. And for anybody that is interested in reading the quarterly reports, these reports pretty much report on everything. And if you are interested, if you go to this month's agenda papers online, it's from page 87 to page 133. Are there any other comments from other councillors?
Just a question. It is on our website too, isn't it? For people
Yes.
to see. Okay.
Any other? Yes, Councillor Lana. You've already had a say.
All right. Just
Oh, are you closing debate, are you? Yes, please do.
Just to close, it's important to have these broad financial principles, cash reserves, rating strategy, and I don't know if I can raise it at this point. Just the rating strategy on page 7 is talking about how rates and charges will be shared by the community, and that's a broad statement. Anyway, I need to go to that later. So, sorry, I'm
Closing.
I'm closing. So yes, this is very good to have all of this information available to everybody. And
thank you, Councillor Lana. I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 8-0. (8.3) CEO Visit Northern Tasmania Partnership Agreement, and the purpose of this report is to seek Council's approval to enter into a new funding partnership agreement with Tourism Northern Tasmania Incorporated and trading as Visit Northern Tasmania. Visit Northern Tasmania was established in 2012 when the West Tamar Council had entered into continuous funding partnerships and agreements since 2013. And the recommendation is that the Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to enter into negotiations with Tourism Northern Tasmania Incorporated, trading as Visit Northern Tasmania, for a new one-year partnership agreement for the 26-27 financial year for the amount of $50,996 plus CPI, which includes both a regional and West Tamar Council specific schedule. Will somebody please move that?
Oh, I'm happy to.
Thank you, Councillor Sheegog. And can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sladden. Councillor Sheegog.
Oh. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, look, we've had some discussion about this association we've had with VNT, and we questioned the money worth the money that we were spending, and we've had them in a couple of times to give us presentations to tell us what they've been doing over the last period of time. The last time they came, they presented well, but I think it appears over this last period of time that there has been some improvement, but I think it's insufficient to support the funding further than the next year. I think to pull out from this association with VNT at this point in time would be unfair. And by extending the funding for one more year only instead of the 2 that was requested, it actually then brings us in line with Launceston City Council for one more year as well. But that will give us and the other northern councils an opportunity to, well, for VNT to understand the impact of any council opting out of funding further for VNT. I think 50,000 is quite a substantial amount of money, and we do get some value. However, I think moving forward after the next financial year, we should be probably looking at more better options for us as a council, West Tamar specifically, to support our visitors and our visitor numbers and our visitor experiences within the Tamar Valley.
Thank you, Councillor Sheegog. Councillor Sladden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I echo the Deputy Mayor Sheegog's comments and would just like to add that as a council, especially in this day and age of increased cost of living pressures, we are more and more scrutinising the way we spend ratepayer dollars. And so this was a very deeply discussed commitment, hence why it's for a 1 year partnership rather than the requested 2. Visit Northern Tasmania do some important work, and tourism is very important to the West Tamar. So I look forward to seeing the play out of their efforts and working in this space and over the coming 12 months.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? Yes, Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, just to add that these types of funding arrangements have been looked across the board, and I think it's important that we are going to have a new council. We're running this for 12 months, and I would expect that before there's a definite decision not to continue funding, that we would absolutely engage our tourist partners, because these guys are partners with us in a very important industry. So that detail was missed, that in fact we shouldn't assume that this isn't going to be ongoing. We would need to absolutely balance the importance of this organisation and with our partners in the region.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Any other comments? Before I ask Councillor Shegog to close, I too agree with all of the comments of my councillor colleagues. This is an organisation that is very important to tourism in northern Tasmania. And while council's not in the habit of belting around organisations that we're not happy with, we do believe that in the past we have had similar concerns, and while they asked for a 3-year agreement, we said no, only 1. And at the end of that 1 year, we will assess how the performance has been, and it may be the same story this time next year or a different story. So, Councillor Shegog, would you like to close?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's exactly right. And I just want to rest assured that if we do not continue, that's a decision further down the track, that we will still fully support the tourism industry in the West Tamar by applying probably a similar amount, but just under our control, if that's what Council decides. So agree with everything that's been said. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? In favour, Councillor Sladden, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Shegog, Councillor Homdale, Councillor Allen and Councillor Ireland, and against Councillor Lana. 8.4 is CEO for submission to draft Public Health Amendment Emergency Powers Bill. And the purpose of this report is to seek council endorsement of a draft submission to the Department of Health in relation to the draft Public Health Amendment Emergency Powers Bill. The Department of Health is seeking input from shareholders on the draft Public Health Amendment Emergency Powers Bill, and submissions are due by the 5th of June 2026. And for those interested, the item is dealt with on pages 156 to 160 of this agenda. And the recommendation is that Council endorses the attached submission to the draft Public Health Amendment Emergency Powers Bill and authorises the Chief Executive Officer to sign and submit to the Department of Health. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Yes. Thank you very much. For the record, Councillor Shegog is leaving as a matter of a conflict of interest. So may I, and Councillor Ferguson as well. So may I please have a mover for that recommendation, Councillor Sladden, and a seconder, please. Councillor Hyland. Councillor Sladden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I'd like to thank the Department of Health for the opportunity to provide feedback on this bill, the Public Health Amendment Emergency Powers Bill. I think it's important to acknowledge from the outset that this has been a targeted consultation directed at specific stakeholders and not the broader Tasmanian community. This is why you won't find this proposed bill in the public arena. So, there's been no open public consultation, no community submission process, and very limited public awareness that these amendments are even being proposed. Given the events of the last several years and the very real erosion of trust experienced during the COVID period, I personally am concerned by this. It may be that the government is planning to consult with the Tasmanian public in future. I don't know. These proposed amendments originate from the recommendations made in the Department of Health's 150-page internal review of their handling of Tasmania's pandemic response. It looks like this. I bet the Tasmanian public haven't seen that report either. On the face of it, these proposed amendments may appear largely administrative and benign, and indeed they are presented as improving governance, transparency and operational capability. And to be fair, there are aspects which do improve reporting obligations and administrative processes. However, when you look more closely, the cumulative effect is significant. What is being created is a more formalised and durable emergency powers framework. The amendments extend emergency declarations from 7 days to 12 weeks, allowing repeated rolling extensions with no meaningful parliamentary approval process or sunset clause. There is a strengthening of executive power while relying on retrospective reporting rather than democratic oversight. Perhaps the most concerning impact for local government is the introduction of compliance officers to support enforcement activities during public health emergencies. Activities and powers to enter premises, conduct inspections, gather evidence, seize items where necessary, and issue infringement notices. This risks not only stretching local government resources, but also undermining trust in the most grassroots and community-facing arm of government. Our submission outlines the implications of these amendments on local government, including the increased burden on councils and the very real risk of being drawn into politically divisive enforcement activities. It also addresses the lack of requirement for parliamentary approval over declarations, extensions, or community directions, meaning the framework is heavily executive-driven with power concentrated within the Minister for Health and the Director of Public Health. The submission notes that many of the safeguards appear procedural rather than substantive, and I, personally, wonder whether these safeguards will truly result in better outcomes for the Tasmanian public. That said, Council's submission is balanced and I support the motion. What Council's submission doesn't say, but I will, is that it is of significant concern that the public, Tasmania's biggest stakeholders, have not been consulted so far in this process. Yet they will be the ones to wear the consequences. So I respectfully suggest the Department of Health open this consultation process to the Tasmanian community.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sladden. Councillor Ireland.
Follow that. Look, our submission was well thought through. We had a lot of consultation within council about it, so I fully support this.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments around the table? Councillor Lyons.
This is just another in the game that bureaucrats play. In terms of health, there's only one way to fix health, and that's to have one funder. I was 20 years business manager at Launceston General for medicine and surgery, and we played the game, tried the cost shift, and I think this is just another cost shift from the state to the local council. I think the submission is good. If we had one funder, we probably wouldn't have 81 acute beds in northern Tasmania operating now as nursing home beds. And we probably wouldn't have to spend, because we fill up the LGH acute beds, we then fill up the emergency department, and then we give hundreds of millions of dollars to the ambulance service to have patients sitting in ambulances. We need to treat patients in the right way, early, and that's the only way to save money in health. And pushing the costs, some of the costs onto local council isn't going to do anything to make the health of our community better.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Any other comments? Councillor Lana.
Thank you, Councillor Sladden, for your excellent rundown on the implications of this change to the Public Health Amendment Emergency Powers Bill and the overreach that is the big risk, implicating councils to be the policemen in this politically divisive enforcement activities. So I fully support the motion.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? Councillor Sladden, will you please close?
Thank you to the comments from my council colleagues. So many in our community still carry deep concerns from the COVID period, and under the Public Health Act, Tasmanians endured 836 continuous days of public health emergency that was extended for 12 weeks on 8 occasions. During this time, 45 public health directions and 198 versions were made by the Director of Public Health with no parliamentary oversight or real democratic processes. These directions covered everything from movement into and around Tasmania, contact tracing, masking, gatherings, and, horrifyingly, mandatory vaccination. A direction that, in my view, breached human rights treaties and Australia's own requirements for legally valid informed consent. So these directions resulted in the sacking of 170 healthcare employees and countless others who resigned or retired early. Healthcare employees Tasmania could scarcely afford to lose. And how many other public service employees were lost from education, police, and emergency services? Tasmanians had no say in those decisions. Their elected representatives had no say in those decisions, and these extraordinary powers were exercised largely through executive direction with no parliamentary oversight. Whether people agreed or disagreed with these measures is not the point. The point is that when extraordinary powers are exercised for prolonged periods, public trust is damaged. And once trust is damaged, it's very difficult to restore. To rebuild this trust requires public discussion and consultation. Consultation after decisions is not enough. Internal reviews and targeted stakeholder engagement is not enough. If these amendments are truly in the public interest, then the public themselves should have been given the opportunity to examine them, debate them, and make submissions on them. By not doing so, the government serves only to further undermine the trust in public health and, ultimately, Tasmania's democratic processes. Why? Because legislation dealing with emergency powers, civil liberties and the role of government during crises should never be treated as merely technical or administrative. These are fundamental questions to which the Tasmanian people deserve answers. So I commend this submission to Council in raising these concerns respectfully, constructively and transparently on behalf of the community we represent. And again, I respectfully suggest that the state government seek feedback on these proposed amendments to these emergency powers from the broader Tasmanian community, the public, who are the ultimate stakeholders, as they will carry the full weight of these legislative changes and their consequences.
Thank you, Councillor Sladden. I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Lyons, are you? Yes, so carried 6-0. Thank you. Would somebody please ask for the councillors to come in? Thank you. Thank you, councillors. Item number 9 comes under the heading of governance, and governance 1 is the appointments to the Delegations Review Committee. And the summary is that at the 21 April 2026 Ordinary Council meeting, Council adopted terms of reference for a new special committee under Section 24 of the Local Government Act 1993, the Delegations Review Committee, with the appointment of councillor committee members now required. The matter is discussed from page 160 to 161 of the agenda, and the recommendation is that council appoint the following councillors to the Delegations Review Committee for a term concluding at the close of nominations for the 2026 local government elections, and those nominated are Councillor Lyndon Ferguson, Councillor Joshua Matikas and Deputy Mayor Councillor Rick Shegog. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Lyons. Councillor Ferguson, Ireland, I beg your pardon.
Yes, happy to move that, Mayor. Just to note that I am first there, and then they are following me. So I will let them know the meeting dates, and we expect them to be there promptly. But on a serious note, we regularly need to reassess delegations. So it's an important role.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ireland.
I reckon he had a conflict of interest there, but anyway, never mind. Look, a delegations committee is an important one because legally a lot of our decisions rest in the CEO. She can't do everything, so has to delegate it down. So depending on what it is, it gets delegated to other people. And this committee's function is just to check that those delegations are correct and if they need to be updated. So with Councillor Ferguson as the leader, they should go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Are there any other comments after that one? Councillor Ferguson, will you please close?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 8-0. Item 10 is special committees, and 10.1 is special one, Youth Advisory Council minutes for the April meeting, pages 162 to 165, and the recommendation is that Council receives and notes the minutes as presented for the Youth Advisory Council meeting held on the 16th of April 2026. May I please have a mover?
I'm happy to move, Mayor.
Yeah, you move it, not second it.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson and
Yeah.
Councillor Allen, both who sit on those committees. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, this is receiving the minutes from our Youth Advisory Council. It's very well attended, and we regularly get feedback from that group of important people in our community. So yeah, it's as read. And also just to note that any councillor is able to attend these meetings as per normal.
Thank you very much. Any other? Councillor Allen, I beg your pardon.
Yeah. Just to say, the advice from council on the second page of the minutes has been addressed to the committee, and there'll be a lot of advice this month from the same group.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Schiegel.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Look, great to see the activities of the Youth Advisory Committee. I attended the West Hamwood Youth Festival, as some did other councillors as well, which was fantastic. So pass on to them the congratulations for a great event. It was a beautiful day as well, which helped.
Yes.
I'd just like to pick up Councillor Allen's the advice to council. Look, there's some really good things there, and I'm just wondering how that actually gets input and they get a return as to what's happening with those ideas.
It's usually written back to the youth officer, and then she reports it at the next meeting, and puts it on their minutes too.
Like for example, I'm interested, like the underpass. What stage they're at with that, and there's something about the half-court basketball court at Tara's Park, looking at upgrades. What's their influence to get things onto the agenda or more so into a budget cycle? Because I'd be interested. I suppose that comes through you too, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So I think Councillor Ferguson, I think the underpass, they've formed a committee.
Right.
To look at what the options are. And I think as far as I know, we were costing out the full basketball court.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Any other comments? No comments, Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, yeah, all the feedback will go back to the next meeting. And for example, one of the ideas that have come through a YAC member was about the lapel pins and a bit about the that work. So it's great that this is actually one of the first times. We don't always get advice to council on the minutes, so it's actually good that they're here. But yeah, normally what I'll do is, or Joy will forward them to the through the CEO to the director, or bring them to questions at the end of the meeting.
Thank you very much. So I will now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against, carried 8-0. 10.2 is the Positive Ageing Committee minutes, April, and the purpose of this report is to provide the minutes from the latest Positive Ageing Committee meeting to councillors for noting. The details are on page 166 to page 169. And the recommendation is the council receives and notes the minutes as presented for the West Tamar Positive Ageing Committee meeting held on the 27th of April 2026. Thank you, Councillor Allen.
Happy to move that. That's a newly formed.
I'll just get a
sorry,
seconder.
sorry, yes.
Councillor Sladden.
Just about jumping out of my seat here.
Councillor Allen.
This is a newly formed committee, so they've come under another terms of reference, and that was their first meeting. So we had a lot of new people on that committee who look like it's going to be a great committee. So at this stage, we haven't picked a chair. That will happen in the next two meetings.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Sladden.
Yeah, so this is just part of our normal reporting processes, but it's great to see the new committee being onboarded. And if the previous activities, the activities of the previous committee are anything to go by, I hold great hope for the future and what our Positive Ageing Committee will be bringing to the community.
Thank you very much. I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. Item 11 is under the title of Development, and 11.1 is Development 1, Environmental Health and Municipal Fees and Charges. And this report recommends a range of licence and registration fees be adopted by Council for the 26-27 financial year for the Environment, Health and Municipal departments. And the recommendation is that Council approves the following fees, including as attachment 1 for the 26-27 financial year under section 205 of the Local Government Act 1993, section 87 of the Food Act 2003, section 185 of the Public Health Act 1997, and section 80 of the Dog Control Act 2000. And the details of the report are from pages 170 to 176 of the item. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Ireland. And a seconder, please. Councillor Lana. Councillor Ireland.
Thank you. These are whole swathe of fees because our rates bill has to go out next month, the next month after. We need to approve these a month ahead of our budget. Generally, the increases have been below inflation, which is good to see. And hopefully, I don't think there's anything above inflation at all, apart from one maybe. So a very good job. Keep the fees as low as we can whilst making things viable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lana.
I endorse Councillor Ireland's comments. The increases are, around 5%, which is around the level of inflation, which haven't added too much of a burden to the existing fees and charges. So the increases won't burden the people that need those registration fees and the rest of it. So yes, I support this motion.
Are there any other comments?
Mate,
Councillor Allen and then Councillor Ferguson.
just one comment. It's important to note that we try to have user pay, but this is certainly not covering our costs. Just as an example, the dog control services cost council $313,000 and the revenue is only $198,000. So we know we're covering the costs of these activities.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, I was actually that's the kind of comment I was going to make, that this isn't a money-making exercise. This is really trying to recover some of the cost, and some of this is legislated requirements of council, and like the dog management, it's a big cost driver for us. So yeah, these are prudently done.
Thank you very much. If there are no other comments, I will put it to the. I'll ask Councillor Ireland to close.
Nothing further to
Nothing
add.
further.
Thank you.
I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. 11.2 is proposed street names for Montague Park Stage 11 at 36 Jetty Road, Lagana. And the report is from page 177 to 180. And the recommendation is that Council approves option 1, adopting the name for Road 15 as Empire Drive and Road 16 as Smitten Street, and advise place names Tasmania accordingly. A mover, please. Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Seconder, please.
Point of order. Yeah, I'm happy to second option 1.
Thank you.
It's on page 180.
Yes. Page 180, Councillor Ferguson. Okay, Councillor Lyons.
I think to name these streets after a variety of apples, even though I think these two were probably New Zealand apples, not Tasmanian ones. But I think I still have a sort of tear in my eye for the West Tamar when it used to be full of apples and pears and ships coming in out of Bell Bay and Inspection Head, and huge transport. So it's good to have these memories of these names being apples. I guess it won't be long and we won't have an apple orchard in the West Tamar. I think there's only 3 now, and we'll probably be back to 2 once Lagana gets developed. I guess I do have a fond memory of Tasmania being the Apple Isle, and I guess this is one way of remembering them.
And there's nothing wrong with a bit of nostalgia.
That's it.
Councillor Lyons. Councillor Ferguson.
Nothing to add, thank you, Mayor.
No nostalgia from you?
Similar memories, just a bit more recent.
Thank you.
Bloody lot more recent.
Are there any other comments?
Well, seeing we're on a roll, I grew up on an orchard as a young lad, and I'm hoping for the day that there's a Sheegog Road or a Sheegog Way. I've got 2 apples there, so there you are.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, I'll ask Councillor Lyons to close.
I think it's good to reminisce about these things and to have a variety of apples as a street name. I think it's probably a good thing from memory, and unfortunately it's just so long ago.
On that note, I'll put it to the vote. All of those in favour? Carried 8-0. Item 12 is corporate, and 12.1 is the financial management strategy and long-term financial plan 26 to 27 from 26-27 to 35-36. And the purpose of this report is to consider the adoption of Council's financial management strategy and long-term financial plan 26-27 to 35-36, in total from 2027 to 2036. The details are found on page 181 to 277 of the agenda. And the recommendation is that Council adopts the financial management and long-term financial plan 2027 to 2036 as presented. May I please have a mover for this very important agenda item? Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. And a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The long-term strategy, we're required to maintain it, and this has been updated to reflect the outlook that it currently exists. Just important to note that one of the key parts in this is what's being proposed or being worked through in Lagana. There's quite a few moving pieces here. For example, the concerns around the pool, they've been adjusted because there's some work going on in extending its life, which is noted in it. However, we still are waiting on the final outcome from the engineers. And so as it's related, it's also for Lagana in the recreation area. We're looking at, we have funding for the basketball courts, and it's predicated on $10 million of funding, total funding, and the council in this long-term plan suggests a $10 million council funding percentage. So, but I'd just like to note that that has not been a fully endorsed decision of council. This is about the outlook, and it's about getting visibility of all these important projects. So that's just want to be clear about that may well change or be updated to reflect what challenges we have. The other one is the sales of the Nova land, the Nova Business Park, excuse me. That initiative was really about unlocking Lagana and also ensuring that the current users of the cricket club and the rec users that historically have been there about their relocation. So it wasn't quite strong enough, I think, in this document on that, but I just want it to be noted that that's really a big part of that, the land sales initiative. And but in its current form, happy to support it with that understanding that further council decisions are required.
Thank you, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Allen.
Thank you. It saved me a lot of words. It's just important to note that this is council making decisions for the council's future and future financial position. So we need to look at the long-term future of council and make sure it is ongoing financially sustainable. So that's what it's mainly about.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Lana.
I do have concerns about the scale, the scope, the operational costs and the renewal costs into the future of the proposed Lagana recreation plan. I note here for the year 2026-27, there's high risk indicator for council's internal financing. I note that operating deficit will be around 6.3 million.
Councillor Lana, on that particular point, I'll ask CEO to respond to that.
So, Councillor Lana, one of the topics that has been discussed through workshops is the reason why that is at a higher risk is because of the way cash flow was coming in. So our Chief Financial Officer didn't account for any cash flow from the $5 million federal grant to flow through in the next financial year. We now know that's not the case. That's why this is a living, breathing document. The federal government has confirmed their $5 million in writing, and we expect the deed to arrive and be executed within the next 12 weeks. And so that's why these documents are really important, because they set out what we know now, and they are reviewed in an ongoing way. So when things change, there's an ability to change it. But that's why the internal resourcing is like that. We've taken the most conservative route to it so that we can ensure that council has the most conservative view of what the long-term plan and the impact of any of the infrastructure commitments that council might make will have.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. I have run an AI analysis across the long-term financials, the demographic composition of our very dispersed population. We extend all the way down to Green Speech, and it tends to be a lower socioeconomic and what's called hyper-aging demographic. the further north you go. And so AI tells me that so using the Innova Park asset sale proceeds as a one-off funding mechanism, the focus for the Lagana recreation plan needs to be flexible multi-use spaces. And then it goes on to say...
And Councillor Lana, if I can just remind you, they will be multifunctional spaces.
Not as a priority as I've read it from the business plan. And it also, the analysis is that future grants and capital budgets or partnerships can focus on the complex or specialist infrastructure, which is the basis of this Lagana structure recreation plan, and higher cost concrete intensive assets, which the cost base for those are very uncertain at the moment. They're going up. They're talking 40% increase in construction costs over the next little while with no end in sight. It's just that the site is because it's a high water table, it's low lying, it needs a lot of concrete.
Lana, if I can just interrupt you, the council's already made a decision on this issue. What is before us now is the item that we are asked to pass. So unless you've got anything further to say, I'd like to move the debate on, please.
Just I don't believe that there is equity across the core demographic into the future for the next at least 10 years, if not more. And I won't be supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Lana. Any other comments?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, Councillor Ireland.
Yeah, this is a plan. Basically, you can't have life without a plan. And it's a legal requirement we have a long-term financial plan. It's going to change, guarantee it. But in order for our bean counters to know what we're doing, we have to start off with a plan. It'll vary next year. Without a plan, we won't know where we're going. So we're talking about a strategic plan, what our finances are, where we're going to spend the money, and it's important we start off somewhere. So this is a good start. It'll get varied next year. That's part of the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ireland. Any other comments? Yeah. Councillor Lyons and then Councillor Sladden put a hand up first, and Councillor Lyons.
Just following on from Councillor Ireland's comments, I just wanted to highlight the officer's comments in that the plan was written before the current Middle East conflict affecting the Strait of Hormuz. And while the prolonged timing and future economic impacts of these events remain uncertain, it is recommended that we adopt the plan. This is very much a moving feast. We know that, and very much a live document. We know that costs are just, it's like being on a roller coaster, really, when it comes to fuel costs and building costs. And one of the things always never seem to come back down to where they were before they started going up, but that's a question for another day. But we are acutely aware that this will need to be adjusted as time goes on, but I think it's a good start.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lyons.
We need to have a financial plan into the future. But, I mean, like all plans, they're based on our knowledge now. So it should be into the future a working document that we vary to take advantage or cover some of the disadvantages of financial considerations into the future.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? Before I ask Councillor Ferguson to close, I will say that I totally support the comments from Councillor Lyons, Sladden, Ireland and Allen. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll just close in saying there's nothing to be afraid here. This is a long-term view. We're in an excellent position, and should also be noted on our low debt, virtually no debt position, with the increases aligned to the costs to provide service. So for any council that has concerns, you are in the driver's seat in terms of the key decisions on the big ticket items for our council. But we do need this in place, and it's an excellent document.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ferguson. I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? In favour are Councillor Sladden, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Shegog, Councillor Homdale, Councillor Allen and Councillor Ireland. Against, Councillor Lana. Thank you. The next section is community, and there are no items listed under community for discussion today. Item 14 is community assets, and asset 1, capital works project budget adjustments, and the purpose of this report of this item is to report to Council on capital works project budget adjustments approved under delegation by the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. The details are found from pages 279 to 281, and the Council, by absolute majority, in accordance with Section 82(6) of the Local Government Act 1993, authorised the Chief Executive Officer to make adjustments not exceeding $150,000 and not exceeding the total amount of the estimates within budget estimates as prescribed in Section 82(2)(a) and B and D of the Local Government Act 1993, and point 2, direct that Council receive a report from the Chief Executive Officer at the next available ordinary council meeting when the above delegation is exercised. The report must include details of any adjustments made to budget estimates. And the recommendation is that Council receives this report under the Local Government Act 1993, Section 82(7), noting the capital works project budget adjustments approved under delegation by the Chief Executive Officer. May I please have a mover? Councillor Lyons, a seconder, please. Councillor Lana. Councillor Lyons.
Well, I think what we're doing here is a sensible way to move forward, and I'm particularly pleased about a couple of the projects. You might be surprised, but one of the projects I keep getting informed by a ratepayer in Riverside about somebody who's walked past and obviously working out a cost of a particular job, which has been hanging around for at least 5 years. At least we're moving forward on it. I support the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lana.
Yes, it's important to keep abreast of our capital works and our renewal projects. I did miss the last workshop on the capital budget for the Grindelwald Atkinson's Road, so I take it on good faith that that's all appropriate. They've certainly had a good upgrade lately, but no, we need to keep our assets up to speed and up to spec. So I support this.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Lyons, would you like to close? Anything further? Oh,
That's all right, Madam. I'm just reminding Council, this is actually part of our regulation that we actually brought in, that these adjustments come to Council. They're not new works or anything like that. They're just adjustments to through the delegation of the CEO.
Thank you. So now I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour?
Well, you probably want me to speak.
I'm so sorry, Councillor Lyons.
You might not want me to. I can understand that.
Please, the floor is yours.
Could I just say that I absolutely support the way some of this stuff is coming before council with photographs and much more detail. And perhaps I'm not someone who thinks about it in the brain. I like to see a picture, and I think Duno, you and your team have done a great job, and I'm pleased to see some of these projects. Looks like they're moving forward, and some of them, of course, we definitely need doing because of health requirements, etc. But really pleased with the work you're doing, Dino, and keep it up.
Thank you, Dino. I will now put it to the vote. All those in favour? 8-0. Thank you. The next item is people, culture and safety, and there are no items listed under that heading. Petitions, item 16. Petition 1, petition requesting refusal of a planning application. And the purpose of this report is to table a petition received by the Chief Executive Officer as required under Part 6, Division 1 of the Local Government Act 1993. Council received a petition on May 126, which has since been deemed to be compliant with the requirements of Section 57 of the Local Government Act 1993, and the petition entitled Petition to the West Tamar Council requests that the West Tamar Council wholly refuse approval of application number PA 2025327. Council is required by the Act to table any compliant petition at the next ordinary council meeting after receipt to consider any action to be taken at the council meeting within 42 days of the tabling of the petition. And the recommendation is that council notes the tabling of the petition requesting that West Tamar Council wholly refuses approval of application number PA 2025327 and consider any action to be taken during the June 16 June 2026 ordinary council meeting. Will somebody please move that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Shegog. And Councillor Lyons, second. Councillor Shegog.
Just to accept it as tabled, Madam Mayor, and we've had some passionate speakers today about it, so I understand that's why we probably received a petition.
Thank you very much.
Pro forma.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Sladen.
Just reading through the officer's comments on this, and it reminded me, we don't receive petitions very often, so when we do, I take notice. And I commend the community for taking the time to lodge this. I noticed that the first time it was lodged, it was non-compliant, but then they were given the opportunity to go back and make it compliant. So local government is really the only place you can submit a petition to government. You don't need anyone to sponsor it. And I've learned too that you can also do it electronically. The fact that it had to be done twice, though, I just think perhaps we need to improve our communication, or so that people are better able to easily see how they can lodge a submission, a petition. Sorry, so I'm not sure how to do that, but maybe that's a discussion for another day. But yeah, thanks for tabling the petition.
Councillor Sladen, I do take your point, because I don't think that a lot of people who make a public petition understand how important the wording of the petition is and what it has to include. So I agree with you. I think maybe it's something that we can try and educate the community about in the future. Thank you. Any other comments? There being none, Councillor Shegog.
That's fine. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Enough said.
Enough said. I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. The next item on the agenda is notice of motions, and the purpose of this report is to provide council with advice in relation to a motion received on notice from Councillor Jeff Lyons in accordance with Section 65 of the Local Government Act 1993. The details are found from pages 292 to 301. And the recommendation is...
What's the motion?
You need to put the motion, Councillor Lyons.
I have an amended motion, which I have an amended motion, which I'd like to read, if that's
yes,
okay.
Certainly.
So the motion is that the West Tamar Council review the Lagana Town Centre structure plan to investigate the possibility of having an urban mixed-use zoning of the southern area extending north of Acropolis Drive on the west side of the West Tamar Highway to an area adjacent adjacent to the light industrial zone on the eastern side of the West Tamar Highway or extending further north to Bridge North Road. So basically, I'm just asking for it to be reviewed. My entire reason for putting
No, that's the debate. I need a seconder for that amendment.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, if we could just ask you to hold just for 1 second while we get the amended motion or the new motion up on
right.
screen so that everybody's happy with what it is that they're going to be
has
seconding.
it. So.
Yeah. Councillor Lyons, can you just check that that is correct on the screen for me, please?
Yes.
It's good.
Yep.
Thank you. May I have a seconder for that amended motion? Thank you, Councillor Allen. Councillor Lyons.
Well, my entire reason for moving this motion is to try and sort out a business zoning for that particular area. I think there's a great economic value in having services basically facing the highway and locating small businesses, so basically buildings up to 300 recommended and complementary uses. So opposite the light industrial, having that area available for businesses and to try and create some economic development in that area. I think we have lots of houses and probably not enough businesses in the Lagana area to support them. And obviously, the more people that work in that area, the less traffic problems we have on the West Tamar Highway. I just want to encourage businesses. I want to encourage entrepreneurs, and this gives potentially gives some zoning, which will allow people to come up with their various occupations and industries that would be encouraged by having urban mixed-use zoning in that particular area. After the West Tamar Council, the staff review this project, this zoning area, I hope that we can move forward and provide the opportunity for businesses and jobs.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lyons. Councillor Allen.
To add, but it certainly would attract more small businesses to the area without undermining our current business area. They would be on smaller lots, so up to, if possibly up to about 3,000 square metres. So they're only small businesses, which wouldn't attract a lot of big trucks or anything along that highway. So it's just opening it up a bit more for people to have a mixed use. So you can still have your residents living there. You can still have your service station and your nursery if you want to. It is currently a bit mixed anyway. So it's just opening it up a bit further.
Thank you, Councillor Allen. Any other comments? Councillor Lana.
My initial thoughts were that being on the busy highway, that was the hazard that was discussed, I think, at the time the Lagana structure plan. Talking to Jeff in the interim, he was talking about a slip road, which would certainly make a big difference to that build-up of traffic along that section on a regular basis. So that satisfies that. The other concern was that it would detract from the business centre of Lagana proper. But if that centre of business centre in Lagana could be built as a community, gathering place as well, that would help the foot traffic and the businesses in that plaza that was proposed. So yeah, it has merits. I wonder if it should be. So what is it? Yeah. So you'd reduce the initial scope of your motion, also, didn't you, to just be opposite the industrial area? I would be more in favour of that. Yes. Yeah.
It's a mirror of what's on the other side of the road. Any other comments? Councillor Sheego.
Okay. Madam Mayor, I'm having trouble with this in the respect that only a few months ago we passed a Lagana town structure plan after many, many, many months and even years of discussion. And now we've done that, we're looking at changing our own plan, which is not a great, it's not a great thing for the community to see that we've made a decision and now we're going back to revisit it. I've got concerns also of the zoning urban mixed use. We haven't really had much discussion around what that actually entails, and I get what Councillor Lyons is trying to achieve. I can picture it in my head, but I believe that it won't be anywhere like what we think it will be. Having a chat to the planner at lunchtime, there is the possibility of a McDonald's. There is the possibility of a Chemist Warehouse. There is the possibility of an IGA and other type of businesses. Now, we won't have any control over what goes there like we have with our Innova Business Park because we've got control over that land. We don't have control over this section of land. And in our business plan, in our Lagana structure plan, the intent was to make a town centre. Now, the town centre is around the current buildings and our land that we hold, where the cricket ground is. Now, by doing this, we're actually going to be sending the entrepreneurs and other people that we want to come to the Lagana Town Centre down the road because the land's probably going to be cheaper and they're going to be able to do more with it. Now, we talk about road safety. Why then will we put extra businesses such as McDonald's, potentially? I'm not suggesting it will be, but that's the type of business that I asked the planner if it could go there. Do we want that coming in off the West Tamar Highway? It's not what we want. It wasn't our vision. Currently, people can put on those blocks a childcare centre, and forgive me if I'm wrong, a childcare centre. They could put a medical centre. They could put some other small business on those in that residential area. So they can do that now anyway. They can go off and make an application, and if it gets approved, they can build what they like within that restriction. We open it up to urban mix. That opens it up to the possibility of bigger, bulkier businesses if the discretionary use is allowed. But we are looking at something that we don't know. So what we do know now is that we have some control over it because it's residential. We allowed extra commercial within the centre of Lagana in Fulton. I forgot it again. Starts with a B. But Bullman and Fulton Street to allow that sort of inbuild from there within to the town centre. That was our plan. And once that's achieved, then we could probably look at other possibilities. But I don't know doing this now after we've approved a plan and for the longer councillors, sorry, I say longer instead of older because that's a bit offensive. For the councillors that have been on council longer, we started this back in about 2013 or 14 from memory. And we've got to a great spot, we've approved a plan, and 2 months later, we're looking to change it. So after we change it, if we do, are we going to change it 2 months again down the track because someone's got another idea? We have plenty of time, heaps of workshops, and that was the plan. I just think it looks a bit silly if council are now going to change a plan that has taken so long to come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sheego. Are there any other speakers? Yes, Councillor Ferguson.
Yes, I'm similar thoughts. Certainly, the original motion would have had a lot more difficulty with. I would have a question to the planner, and that if this is supported, can I be assured that the rationale and the thinking behind all the consultation and all the data that we got to arrive at making it general residential will be considered, and because we've got to understand, how did we arrive at the current structure plan zoning, which said let's make it all general residential, which is changing from low density with the SAP. So if that is going to happen, then logically the same information, the same concerns and views of the community will be forefront and will be still properly assessed, which I would suggest there's a high likelihood that we will arrive at the same answer as what we got. So that's, but can you answer that question?
Yeah, as part of the review and investigation process, we can present and share that information with you as part of that process.
Okay, so on that basis, I'll support it, but I'll be insisting on that to happen because the consultation and the efforts that we've gone to was extensive, and we all around this table we all know that, and that's not the problem. But we need to understand, why did we decide that the future for that was general residential before we get sidetracked? And on that basis, I'll support it, knowing that it's just investigating.
Any other comments? Richard?
Yeah, look, I also support this because really this is an investigation. This is a plan to make a plan about a plan. So it may or may not come to anything. I think when we initially looked at this area, we probably didn't actually study it properly. We looked at the rest of Lagana, but this was like to the side. So personally, I don't remember taking a lot of time making a decision about this area. So I'm happy to investigate it and let's see what happens.
Thank you. Am I the last speaker? Nobody else wants to speak? Sladden, Councillor Sladden, do you wish to make?
My face is obviously leaking again. Look, this is obviously, listening to the debate around the table, this is something that doesn't sit comfortably with everyone. And to be honest, the original motion didn't sit comfortably with me either, for a lot of the reasons that we've outlined. We've spent so much time, we and definitely the planning team, who I'm sure probably saw it in their dreams. So the original motion was not palatable. This is a little bit more palatable. I still feel uncomfortable at revisiting things, but if there are lingering questions, then I guess it's our responsibility to make sure that we get those questions answered, so that we know going forward that that is the best zoning for that area. But what I don't want to see would be any movement forward without a full public consultation on this, because that were the efforts that we went to with the Lagana structure plan. And if we're going to make any changes, we need to do that. But I think this process will make sure that happens.
Thank you, Councillor Sladden. My recollection of the discussion that we had about retaining it as a residential area was very brief. I think it was just, and I could be wrong if we go back to the minutes, but I'm fairly certain that there wasn't an in-depth discussion about should it be left as it is or changed to something else. There are already businesses on that strip. And we, or what Councillor Lyons is proposing is that the extension of what's already there reflects what's on the other side of the highway. I think that's quite appropriate. I don't see anything wrong with offering our ever-growing population the sort of facilities and amenities that we need. McDonald's might not be everybody's cup of tea, but if community says they want something like that, it's up to council to be able to facilitate that wish. We will be creating jobs, as Councillor Ireland said, and I fully support that we investigate further the rezoning of this particular section of the highway. And it's not council's job to stifle competition. And I think that this strip would bring competition to the already existing businesses that are in the main centre. So with that, Councillor Lyons, do you wish to close?
I mean, this motion asking the West Tamar Council to review, I think any plan can be improved. And if, for instance, every land block on the, facing onto West Tamar Highway, if we decided that to change it to urban mixed use zoning, it would provide the opportunity to have a potentially a one right way in, one way out of that area. So it would actually make the entrance onto the highway safer. And I think that people who have land there would provide them with greater value. It's a very exposed centre, and my belief is it's a very good business sort of front for businesses who decide to go into that area. Look, I've asked for a review. I think if we allow this to happen, it will be encouraging accessible businesses to that area. I think will create jobs, and I think it would also we recognise that it's not going to take away from the centre, and it just gives a reasonable scale while still encouraging the town centre to be developed. I think all of our plans, we should be talking about how we can amend them and make them better. And I think if we review the Lagana Town Centre Structure Plan to investigate the possibility of having a better zone and providing a great opportunity for entrepreneurs, businesses to get a foothold in that area, I think it would be a very good decision, and I await the review.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lyons. I will now put it to the vote. All of those in favour of the amended motion? For Councillor Sladden, Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Homdale, Councillor Allen, Councillor Ireland and Councillor Lana, against Councillor Sheagog. So 17.1.2 is a motion by Councillor Sheagog to rescind minute number 2644 regarding ALGA conference attendance. Councillor Sheagog.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would I like to move that one, rescind the motion of Council Minute number 26 of 44 of the March Council meeting in regards to the attendance of 4 councillors at the 2026 Australian Local Government Association, ALGA, National General Assembly, NGA, to be held in Canberra between the 23rd and 25th June 2026, and the Council agrees to only send the Mayor and the Chief Executive Officer to the ALGA NGA.
Thank you, Councillor Sheagog. May I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sladden. Councillor Sheagog.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, this has come about in March. We moved that 4 councillors and the CEO attend the conference. Since things have changed, the prices have skyrocketed, and I think that that it would only be sensible to reduce the number of persons attending just to be yourself and the CEO, and also to highlight the fact that the West Tamar Council has a motion at ALGA, and I think that that's very important that you attend to support that or introduce that motion to the ALGA meeting. And also for the CEO to attend for the purpose of being there to see what happens and to speak to the other CEOs across Australia. I think that's very important as well. And just to be clear, this is not too bad, so sad to the councillors. Well, I have spoken to the other councillors, and they also support or agree that that's probably the timing's not very good at this point of time in this year. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sladen.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Deputy Mayor Shegog, for bringing this motion. Yeah, as one of the people that was actually endorsed to attend the ALGA conference, I am more than happy to step back from that and support this motion. Things change, especially financially, and we're ever looking towards ways of making sure that we are fiscally responsible. It is important that our Mayor and CEO go to this event. We have a motion on the table, and there are also, I'm sure, important discussions and networking opportunities there. Also, I'd just like to say that, Council does provide for the continuing professional development of councillors, and we've had a number of educational sessions held, especially during my 4 years on council so far. So not being able to go to the ALGA conference, I'm sure we will all survive, and there will be other opportunities coming along in future for those of us that get re-elected. Yeah, but I fully endorse this motion, and thank you, Councillor Shigog.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
Sorry, just my comment would be that I was one of them that was going to go too, but I'd already backed out before it had come to this stage because I thought financially it was too many people going this year. So happy to, just for the Mayor and the CEO to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Lyons.
I support the motion, but I don't want to just make it so it's going to be two people forever. I think there's a great deal of good learning that goes on in these conferences, doing the workshops, seeing how other councils operate. So I support the motion, but I am strongly in favour of education, and if that can happen at the conference, or maybe it's some other way that maybe we can get some of the conference speakers to come and talk to us. And it's probably been a while since this council has done some education, and probably we ought to be thinking about that as well. But I'm happy to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Lyons. Any other speakers? There being none, Councillor Shigog.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Not much more to say other than it's important to note that this had to come to council because we'd moved a motion, so a motion had to be moved to rescind it. So that's why it's here, not making any grandstanding or anything. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 8-0. 17.2 is motions without notice, and there aren't any. Oh, I beg your pardon, Councillor Slatt.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move a condolence motion regarding the passing of Robert Richardson recently.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder, please, for that? Councillor Lyons. Thank you. Councillor Sladen.
Yeah, thank you. For those who know Robert Richardson, or Bob Richardson, will have received or seen at least a few of his very well handwritten letters, and he has been a very strong community advocate and member of this community, but also keeping us on our toes with his issues that he's brought to council. He is also a former member of the Meander Council, and I just want to bring some of the life and times of Bob Richardson to memory now. So he was born in 1947. He grew up in the small farming district of Sandford, southeast of Hobart. He was educated at Sandford State Primary School, attended Clarence High School, Hobart, prior to his university studies, where he completed a Bachelor of Science, a grad dip of admin, and various other degrees and certificates. He's actually achieved a lot in a very short time. He was a teacher, Tasmanian secondary school teacher, and was also executive director of Association Management ADFA between 1988 and 1997. He was a councillor, I believe, for 18 years. Is that correct? Yeah, Meander Valley Council. But I knew Westbury Council. Sorry. Thank you for your correction, Councillor Lyons. But I knew him best through these handwritten letters, which I was always excited to receive in my email inbox and respond to accordingly. But they were always very well thought out, very well researched, and he made some very good points, even if some people didn't always agree with all of them. You know, I really value the contribution that community members like this make to council's processes and community consultation. You know, I think with people like the Bob Richardsons of the world contributing to our conversations, we would do well to take heed, listen to the things that they say, and we're shaped by them, and we're shaped also by the footprint of their lives. And so I would just like to remember Bob and the contributions that he's made, I'm sure not just to West Tamar, but to the wider community.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Councillor Sladen. Councillor Lyons.
That was very well done, Julie. I think you've covered pretty much all. He was not only a very good letter writer, but he had considerable conversations by phone as well. I first met Bob years ago when he was involved at Westbury. I'm not sure if ran the post office or something out at Westbury. I can't remember, but exactly. But he's always been in contact, and he always had some good points to say. So he was worth listening to and worth reading his correspondence. And it is another one of the passing parade that we will miss.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Before I ask Councillor Sladen, I think all of us from time to time might have thought that he was just a very obstinate man who just kept pushing on something that he believed in. But, you know, I had dealings with Robert on another environmental issue not long after I came back to Tasmania, and I found him to be a person that wasn't set in his ways. You could persuade him through debate if you thought he was wrong, and it was it was very sad to see his passing, which was quite sudden, even though he had been unwell for a while. So I thank you, Councillor Sladen, for moving this motion. Yeah. So without further ado, Councillor Sladen, do you wish to close?
Just to extend my personal condolences to Bob's family and friends.
Thank you very much. I'll now put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 8-0. Item number 18 is councillors' questions on notice from the previous council meeting, and they are found on pages 305 and 306. 18.2 is councillor questions without notice. Are there any around the table? I'll start with Councillor Lana and I'll work around the table. Yes, Councillor Lana.
Thank you, Chair. Question 1, can we have a percentage breakdown of the March residents' opinion survey, including key feedback and concerns, in time for the June council meeting, the annual capital budget? That's
CEO.
At this stage, there was a confidential discussion this morning about whether that information will be made public or not. I understand it's coming back to workshop in June, so I will leave it for council to provide me with guidance at the June workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have another couple of questions. So just the background to question 2, I understand Council's wish to leave a long-term legacy in the Legana Recreation Multi-Court Club Rooms and Function Centre to serve Legana and that it is important to get it right. The current 20 to 40 million staged proposal with the 10 million in grants appears to lack, and I have the business case here, strong evidence of local demand. That's in the NDTC report page. It's in the document. To lack a clear operating model and to lack proper assessment of costs, cost recovery and return to council. It also highlights that the West Tamar Master Plan report identifies an extreme risk, that's the terminology, of misalignment between the project brief and stakeholder expectations with the available budget. A number of local or out-of-area stakeholder supporting groups appear to be expecting their own revenue-raising opportunities, which is commercialisation, or non-negotiable high-cost facilities provisions. The newly built Northern Suburbs Community Recreation Hub in Mowbray at cost of $62.5 million now includes 11 indoor multipurpose courts using grants of $46.3 million from the Tas government, $15 million from the federal government. Those nearby facilities, the 16-kilometre drive from Lagana, already meet much of the need. The overall argument is that council's priorities for the whole municipality may lie elsewhere over the next 20 years and that the project should be reconsidered
Can you
carefully.
please get to your question?
For now. Question 2, can council reconsider the detail of the 235-page business case for the Lagana Sports and Recreation Precinct?
A point of order, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
This has already been approved by council, and it appears that Councillor Lana is now questioning a decision made by council, which is inappropriate.
And you're correct, Councillor Shegog.
Do note council's willingness to review the project over time as conditions change. Question 3. What are the numbers and employee roles of our internal council officials who comprise the project working group to brief the architects and stakeholder groups of the expected scope of this project, and how long have they been working on it? Thank you.
I'll take that on notice, Councillor Lana. Councillor Ireland. Thank you. Councillor.
So I have some questions from the Youth Committee.
Yes.
The YAC Committee. So each meeting, as we talked about earlier, the youth are asked if they want to bring something to council. So this time they've asked the following questions. Can a bin be provided near the bottle depot at Windsor, or a skip bin, because they feel that everyone's just throwing the bottles and things that don't belong in the bin over there, deposit bin, and throwing the rejected pieces. I think that was discussed previously. I just couldn't.
There's a sign there saying take them now.
Well, they're not taking it away; they're just throwing it on the ground, apparently. So the youth are worried about it being messy.
So,
Can it be?
Councillor Allen, we will have a look at it.
Yes.
What we have found is when there were bins by the recycle machine, there was significant amounts of rubbish being left, overflowed. We increased our level of service, and it didn't make a difference. Since they've been removed, and I am down here quite often, the level of rubbish is actually probably 90% reduced, and we continue to do it. So we'll continue to monitor, but in fact the difference it's made to that area by removing the bins has had a significantly positive impact. And the decision to do that was also done in seeking feedbacks from other councils, and again their success in dealing with the rubbish that had been left behind was actually to take the rubbish bins away.
Okay, I'm just repeating. So you will come back to the youth on that one. Okay. Can we please push the government for traffic lights at Forest Road? Now, I did explain to them that it wasn't anything to do with council, but they felt they would like us to push for there to be traffic lights there.
So there is the West Tamar corridor work that's being undertaken. There's a plan there, and that does, I understand, include lights at Forest Road.
Yes, it does.
So it will actually, my understanding is that will occur. It did go out for community consultation. We can certainly try and get an update from Department of State Growth on where that is up to, but my understanding was that was a plan of the government as part of the Western corridor
I
work.
think they realised that. They just wanted it pushed a bit further ahead. The same as with follow up the bus shelter opposite Joe's, which I brought up last meeting, or Councillor Ferguson did. That was again. They would like to commend council for the footpaths that have been put in Beaconsfield, and saying how happy they are to be able to push their skateboards, whatever, to the street or to the skate park. So they're happy with that. And would council consider talking to Mannion's bus service about a bus trip in the summer on a regular basis, a bus service on a regular basis to Greens Beach, which would be lovely, but it needs to be on notice.
Yeah, I'll take that one on notice.
Thank you. And that was all. Thank you.
Councillor Shegot. Nothing. Councillor Lyons. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, just earlier in workshop, I asked if we could please contact the department regarding the works on the highway at Lagana. I think it's just probably timely that community get an update on the timeline and expected stages. Some excellent work happening there. It's absolutely great, but I think we just need to know probably what to expect in the next coming months. And the other point was I've taken that offline, just getting an update on works around Bindari and pedestrian network, but I'll through the CEO get the information I need.
Thank you very much. Councillor Sladen. Nothing. Thank you. So the 18.3 is responses to previous questions on notice on the 29th of April, and those questions and answers are on page 308 and 309 of the agenda. I beg your pardon, and 310 of the agenda. Councillor Manticas also asked a question, and the answer is on page 311. So now we go into closed meeting, and the recommendation is that pursuant to Regulation 17.1 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulations 2025, Council close the meeting to the public at 3:46 p.m. To discuss the items as listed in the agenda. Thank you. Thank you. And a seconder. Thank you. Any comments? Councillor Ferguson, Councillor Lyons, Councillor Ferguson. I put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried 8-0. Thank you very much. Okay, so item 21 of the agenda is there being no further business. The meeting closed at
4:19.
4:19.